I'm here today to talk about my predictions for the 2024 US presidential election. And I am doing this uh, because I talked about it last week and I had a number of people reach out and they're like, wait a second, that's not what the other astrologers are saying. That's not who they're saying is going to win. And I was like, oh, okay. So I want to I'm here to give my predictions and my analysis of what I think is about to happen and why it's going to happen that way. I'm not going to be betting on anything, obviously, but I feel fairly confident in my thoughts on this. And I'm going to go through a number of reasons why I think what's going to happen is going to happen. I went ahead and I pulled up other astrologers' um, predictions, and I want to go through those and kind of look at how biased astrology is, how like grossly biased astrology is, and the spiritual community, and how that actually lends to more issues in the field of astrology in general, right? Um, I want us to be very critical with this information. And one of the things I definitely pride myself on is that my astrology is based on like not just feelings or reading things in a book and just convoluted. I mean, the arguments these astrologers were making were so crazy. So I looked up a couple of astrologers from that I know, and I didn't see them post anything either. So I don't know if astrologers are staying away from predictions because they've been so bloody inaccurate, especially in terms of the presidential elections over the years. They've been grossly wrong on a number of occasions. So maybe they're just trying to avoid it. Um, I haven't done it just because I don't like put myself out there much publicly, and in a lot of ways I don't care. But I know that this is a very emotional deal for us Americans, especially. So I want to be there also just as a maybe form of support as well, because I think that a lot of people are scared. That's why it's really not my intention to create division between left and right. And I'm very much out of that paradigm. I wouldn't consider myself a Republican or a Democrat at this stage of my life. But I did vote, but I'm not here to tell you who I voted for or to make an opinion about who I hope wins or whatever. And even though, yes, there is a candidate I would prefer to win, or candidates, we should say, I am not here to make a statement about that because that's the first place where I think astrologers get it wrong. And I could be wrong about this too, because I do believe in our voice and the freedom of voice and all of that. But when an astrologer is saying how they feel about the thing, it's taking it out of like the analytical approach, which, with astrology, for me, that's my belief is that we should be approaching this from the most analytical, data based driven perspective that we can. And so far, of the like five or six, and I'm going to share this with you, astrologers that I found, I don't follow astrology. So it was very difficult for me to find predictions on this because I don't even know who I would look up at this point. So I've just pulled up random people that I found on YouTube. And the first point I want to make in this conversation about who will win the 2024 US election is I want us to look at these people and how they predicted it. And you tell me if it comes from any place of like knowledge I'm talking about. The issue and why astrology is not considered professional and why astrology is considered woo and the reason astrologers don't have any respect in like the scientific community is because of instances like this where it's very clear that people are making opinion based on personal bias and not on facts. So that's the first thing I want to establish. Now, is there an astrologer out there who has made an opinion uh based on personal facts? I'm sure, or on actual facts, I'm sure that's true, but I don't know because I don't follow them. So if you know any astrologer out there that you're like, yeah, that they made this prediction based on that entirely, I'm happy to hear about that. Let me go ahead and pull this up. So, and again, we're going to go through each of these astrologers. I don't know enough about any of them. This is the only astrologer I even really remotely even know who they are. But she came up. So I just wanted to share. the first astrologer here, because we just have to remain in critical thinking here. And this is someone who is very vocal about her political beliefs, which again is completely fine. You do you, boo. But do you think that she's going to give you an accurate analysis of the outcome of an election when she's very vocal about her political views? Okay. And so this is the only one of these people I actually really, well, that's not true. There's another one in this group that I know about. So I'm not doing this to like start a war or create a battle with anybody. That's not my goal here, but I just want to show you the folly of astrology here. So this is, her name is Anne Ortley, and she is a New York astrologer, so that's part of it, right? You know, she's coming from that perspective, right? She lives in New York City. She is a New Yorker. Cool. I've gone on my rants about New Yorkers recently, thinking they're the center of the universe. There's a similar attitude in this. So, yes, I've totally listened to her and had to stop because of her bias, right? Because again, I don't believe it's us astrologers' jobs to get you to vote a certain way or anything like that. I think our jobs, personally, I think our job as an astrologer is to give you a unbiased perspective of the influence of the larger picture. And if we can give you that, it gives you then the tools to critically assess what's up. And that includes when you're getting your chart interpreted, because I'm not saying I am not at fault of this, but my goal with every reading I do and every rising sign group that I run, and every time I connect with anyone astrologically, my goal, not always the case, is to give people the opportunity to make these decisions for themselves. So even though I might look into someone's chart and be like, yeah, you should definitely be a doctor, that is from my bias, and that is from my perspective, and that is from my analysis and my data. That is not my job, though, to tell that person that that's what they should do. It's their job to receive information. So the way we deliver this information is very critical. And so something like this to me is just like, I'm not actually sure why she's not arrested from what she's said in this. And again, I just randomly pulled this up on YouTube. I don't follow this, like, I know she exists, but anyway. So we're going to start with this video, and let me read your comments really quickly. Oh, okay. I've listened to her before. She is very clear in her politics. Yeah. So she's telling you she's biased on every interpretation she's making about what's going on in the collective because of that. Have I ever told you guys who I voted for? Have I ever told you what I did in terms of the vaccine? I don't tell you that. That's not my job to tell you what I'm choosing to do in my own life. I've never done that. I never will do that. My job is to give you critical assessment of all perspectives, because that's what astrology is. Astrology is not biased. It's not. It's a larger cycles that we're tapping into, right? Okay. I thought you were talking about Chani. Yeah. No. Also not. Yeah. I'm not saying all New York astrologers, but most New York astrologers think like New Yorkers. And I love New York and I love New Yorkers. Don't get me wrong, but they think the whole world looks at life the way they do. And I've talked about this the last few weeks, and that's so unbelievably insane to me. Like, go travel, like go spend some time in the middle of America, or go, live in a different country or a different culture, and then we can talk, but a lot of the New York centricity, it's like I watched the Elon Musk yesterday thing, and we'll talk about that a little bit. The mind virus, right? And that happens in lots of different cults of people. That's why we've been talking about the cults lately and all that. But the mind virus of New York City is that they believe that they're the center of the universe, and that's obviously like completely insane. But you can go back and watch old things if you want to hear my thoughts on that. But so if you're coming from that bias, we just have to remember everything here about everything is coming from that bias, which is fine. I come from a bias too, but I really do try not to share that bias with you, right? Same Chris, and I'm open to listening to both sides of the argument, but don't tell me who to like and spit on those who don't agree. Yeah, that just seems like bad business. But again, if like you're super like liberal, of course you'll probably like that. But then that becomes its own cult, right? Liberal astrologers become their own cult, and then they believe what they believe. And even if the world proves them wrong, they can't see it, right? That's cognitive dissonance. This is why we've been talking about this so much in the last 6 months. So I'm trying to see it from the left and right perspective. I'm trying to, I don't know if I always accomplish that, but that's my goal. So let's just start with this.
One voice is one vote, but everybody else has a vote too. And that's where we have that democracy thing that is so nice. Because the other part of it is if we look at what the public has elected, Hillary won, Biden won, they won the popular vote, but with the Electoral College, which is a legacy of slavery that was put in in the Constitution to get the Southern states to agree to it.
Okay. So just want to throw something out, and I don't want to get into the Electoral College, but the reason the Electoral College exists is because the population of New York City, and I don't want to get into the Electoral College thing at all, but it's 8.3 million people. And then just what is the land mass of New York City? So it's 300 square miles. Okay. Now let's look at a place like Wyoming. Okay. How many people live in Wyoming? How many live in Wyoming? So 584,000. Okay. So 500,000 people. I wasn't planning on talking about the Electoral College, but while we're at it, might as well. But it just, for her to say that it's like embedded in slavery and stuff, that may be true. I don't know that history, and so I'm gonna plead ignorance that I don't know that. But let me just show you. So here you can look at a map, okay? In Manhattan, okay, or New York City is literally a little island. You can't even see it. It's a little island right here, okay? It's 300 square miles of land. Now, this is Long Island, but that would not be considered New York City. So this is just this little island. Okay. So there's 8-point-something million people in Manhattan. Okay. Now, over here, okay, in Wyoming, okay, where there's a lot that gets done in Wyoming. Okay, there's ranching, there's oil, there's energy, there's a lot of things that happen in the state of Wyoming. In fact, a lot of the food and ranching that feeds New York City comes from this square, for example. Okay, now this square is, what did I say? It is 97,000 square miles. Okay. 97,000 square miles versus 300 square miles. Okay. So this only has 500,000 people in it. So you could fit Manhattan. What is that? That would be 97,000. I'm just going to do the math on that, divided by 300 roughly. You could fit Manhattan into Wyoming 323 times. Okay. And if you took that let's call it million people, and you times that times 323 times 8, that would be 2 billion people in the state of Wyoming. Okay. 2 billion. So if you multiplied it. So the thing about it is the reason the Electoral College is in effect today is because it might have started in slavery. I'm ignorant. I don't know if that's true or not. But the reason it exists today, because if we took the popular vote only, you would take the entire land mass of Wyoming, and not just Wyoming. Let's just look at all of America for just a moment, right? So let's just get a better view on this and look at all of Wyoming. Okay. And it's not just Wyoming, it's Kansas, it's Nebraska, it's South Dakota, it's North Dakota, it's Idaho, it's Montana, it's Utah. No one's in Utah. It's Oklahoma. So this entire area of America, okay, so this entire western half of America, so west of the Mississippi. In fact, west of the Mississippi, the entire west of the Mississippi, the entire population, there's a video I could share. I could look it up if I could try to look it up. In fact, maybe I will look it up quickly. The entire population west of the Mississippi is cumulative, the same population as the population of LA. And LA, I believe, has less people in it than Manhattan. So if we went with the popular vote, the people who would be voting for 50% of the land mass in America would be people in like Manhattan and California who would be making up laws and rules for Nebraska, Wyoming, Montana, Colorado, all these places where the majority of your ranching comes from, the majority of your food, all these things come from. And yet, so you would have the same gun laws in Wyoming that you would have in Manhattan. That makes no sense because a rancher is protecting their ranch. They're protecting their beef and their cattle. That's why they have guns. They don't have guns so they can shoot people. One of the things that one of these New Yorkers said to me on this trip is, have you ever wondered why there's no school shootings in New York City? And I was like, yeah, that's actually a good point. Like, why do all those school shootings happen not in major cities? And she's like, well, because they just shoot each other outside of school. I was like, oh, okay. She's like, because in bigger like places, all the kids get together. They, rural places, they get together at school. That's where the violence happens. She's like, our violence just happens on the streets. So that's why the Electoral College exists. So just want to throw that out there. And it looks like someone shared a link for that. And you're welcome to do your research. I'm not saying any again, but I'm just giving. So it might be embedded in slavery or something. I don't know that fact. So I'm pleading, ignorance on that. But that's why it still exists. And so if you remove the Electoral College, the entire USA would be based on the popular vote, which is primarily in liberal states. Whereas the primary landmass in America is conservative states because conservative people live differently than urban people. And neither is right or wrong, just different ways of living. But you have to account for the landmass, not just the people. Okay, so I just want to throw that out there. Okay, so let's get back to Ann Ortley.
Okay. I'm not going to vote for you. And you're one voice, it's one vote, but everybody else has a vote too. And that's where we have that democracy thing that is so nice. Because the other part of it is if we look at what the public has elected, Hillary won, Biden won, they won the popular vote. But
because the highest populations are in liberal states. Okay. So in the least amount of landmass where no agriculture gets done. Okay. None of your food comes from those places. None of your industry comes from those places. Mining doesn't come from those places. So the source of energy and fuel, none of them come from those places. Okay. So yes, of course, the popular vote will always go liberal because you will be more liberal leaning in a city, in an urban environment, because you are living in a multicultural environment. Okay. Which is great. Super into that people from lots of different cultures can live together. So the discussion around guns is going to be very unique to that melting pot of multiple cultures living in one spot. Right. So of course the popular vote will always go liberal. But if we went on popular vote, you would discount literally the majority of landmass in all of America, which would affect your agriculture, your energy, all of the things that make this country run come from those rural states. And you can't have the same rules because they are primarily not diverse. Right. Which is, again, good and bad. Same like in the cities, there's good and bad of multicultural people living together. There's good and bad of, monocultural living together. Okay. So just want to throw this. It's just an incredibly biased opinion. Okay.
With the Electoral College, which is a legacy of slavery that was put in in the Constitution to get the Southern states to agree to it. Hey, do we need it anymore?
Yes.
Can't we do one? Because we've changed how people are elected over time. It used to be the senators were elected by the state, and we made those be popular. We can make the presidency be elected by popular vote. And then we get out of all this battleground crap. We just count the votes, and this is what you get.
Yeah.
So, but again, we have that writing the Constitution is about 10 years out from the revolution, which is the next few years.
Right now. So, right. Exactly.
Right now, the revolution.
So with that said, I mean, we're having this election during the revolution. Do you anticipate any surprises or anything that we want to be watching for as we move toward November as Super Tuesday?
I'm also an astrologer.
By the way, this was recorded before Biden stepped down.
who does mundane astrology, which is the kind where you do politics. So the president elected in a year ending in a zero usually dies in office. So that would be Biden. I was joking back when Trump was yelling. I'm like, okay, well, you should die then, because if you really won, you should be dead. But
Did she just say that on YouTube and not get censored? She just said someone should die. What? You're not biased? Oh boy. Oh boy. That's a lot. That's a lot. When I heard, I'm like, wait, you just straight up said he should die then. And I get it. But still, watch your words. That's nuts.
so we're going to watch.
Isn't that like a federal offense to say something like that?
Watch Biden's health. And then in 80, Gore was hung by Chads in Florida because he won Florida when they actually counted the votes. And in 2080, Reagan got shot, but he said to Nancy, honey, I forgot to duck. And John Lennon got killed. 60, of course, Kennedy. So we're watching this year ending in a zero as not being a great thing for a president's health. So that's one of my concerns. My dream ticket, if Biden doesn't show up, Kamala Harris.
I love
Cheney.
that. Yeah.
Because Liz Cheney would do the foreign policy,
So she's telling you who she wants to win. So how can we even for a moment trust her prediction on who will win? How can we even for an instance, even for a millisecond now trust anything that she's going to say about this election or anything else from this point on? Because now she's just stating opinion. So when she looks at any astrological influence, she's not doing it based on data and facts and science. Okay. She's doing it on opinion. Okay.
Her daddy's girl, and she's pretty good on that foreign policy stuff. And Kamala is the social activist and the, legislator and the attorney general and all those things. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We got a long way to go. We know it's going to be very exciting. Not all of us are going to be able to get passports and move to Portugal. Or I have a few clients.
I know.
How do I get my
Okay, so I think that's all I want to share about that. Okay, so that's the first astrologer. Let's go to the next one now. Now, this woman, I have no idea who this woman is, by the way. So I'm not endorsing. I don't literally know who this woman is, but I just found her on the internet.
Crying in emergency room because of Roe v. Wade was overturned. If you don't think that she's not sincere, if you think that she's not being sincere, think again. She absolutely is. Sun in Scorpio.
Okay, so right there, I don't trust you. You've just said that Kamala Harris is sincere, and that's the truth. So you're not looking at this with any critical view, woman. I don't know who you are, but I don't trust your opinion now because you're not being critical in your view. You've just made a statement about Kamala Harris and how you feel about her. And therefore we can't accept this as any kind of valid research. Okay. I have no idea how to flip this so you see it. I'm really apologetic. So I'm just gonna have to play it and you're just gonna have to look at it from this perspective. Sorry about this. I don't know why.
Alongside Saturn is Nesu the abuser. Nesu raped Dayanara.
By the way, she uses the R word. I'm not a big fan of the R word. I think you all know that. I think I don't know. I just don't like it. But man, she's found some interesting asteroids that tell her a story that there's people who are abusive towards women based on asteroids I've never even heard of. Okay. So she's taking, and that's the problem with asteroids. I use them. I do use a number. I don't use them much anymore, but part of the issue why I kind of moved away from asteroids is because it's way, 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 way off point of the point of astrology when it was originally created in Mesopotamia. However, we can use these asteroids. Like you can pull, if you've ever pulled up a chart with all the asteroids in it, I'm not kidding you. Every single degree on a chart will have something in it. The entire chart. I've looked at astrologers who have had a chart and like literally every degree has an asteroid or a planet. So the entire chart is filled. So you can really, by using certain asteroids and things, you can make an argument for anything.
Jupiter, the planet of expansion and the great benefic. is hitting his natal sun. And that's enough for them. And they go, right, he's going to win. That's an incredibly strong placement. But I'm going to tell you, here are the indications, according to me, as to why I don't think he's going to win astrologically as well. Okay, so we get Uranus straight up here. Uranus.
I'm just going to skip ahead a little
with
bit.
Dayanara, the victim.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Jupiter is also here with Dayanara, the victim, the person who was raped by Nesu. Jupiter's expanding on that as well. Abuse of women. And the opposition here down to his natal moon in Sagittarius, women. Pallas Athena and Venus in Sagittarius.
So apparently the moon represents women in this woman's interpretation.
What could be his undoing? Women. Women voting like their lives depend upon it.
Okay. Biased. Okay. So she clearly doesn't like Donald Trump. Cool. You totally get to not like him. But she's said in the Kamala analysis that she's legit. She's got a voice. But with Trump, he's abusing women because of Dionysus or some random thing she's brought in. How can we trust this perspective? Okay, because this is a biased perspective. Okay. And by the way, I'm not saying I never do this. I would be a liar. Okay. I try my hardest to be as level-headed and grounded and analytical of the situation when I'm in the, when I'm talking to my husband, it's a very different story. He's not my job, right? I might talk to him about my political because it's my private, remember when you didn't talk about politics and religion at the table, right? I keep those things in the privacy, but at work, my job is to help analyze these things from a non-biased perspective. So I know I don't always fulfill that, but I try. But this is why people don't trust astrologers.
The women in the US. Formidable. You can see this opposition here. You're not going to have your way. You're not going to have your way. And, Trump is as much, I don't want to labor this point too much, but in my last reading, I saw that he is like he is because of the way he was raised and the choices he's made. But he's had multiple
opportunities. It took you an astrology reading to figure that out.
Opportunities to correct that and learn the lessons. And so now women are going to defeat him. The very people he has allegedly abused, found liable for rape. So it's not so much alleged, is it? Are going to be.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of things on the Democrat Party too. There's been a lot of essay on the Democratic Party too. In fact, there's a lot of litigation out right now for many of the people who just endorsed Kamala. There's litigation out and there's lawsuits out, and it is, so it's not just one person or one party that has encounters with SA and abuse. It happens in all the parties. It's an abusive system. It's across the boards. We've seen it now. Epstein, Diddy, Weinstein, right? It's Cosby. It goes on and on and on and on. Okay. Abuse exists at the top. Clinton. Okay.
What brings him down? He's
going to be Clinton's.
Lose to a woman as well.
Okay, so completely unbiased.
Capricorn transition to Aquarius, biased. The collective. But Mars in the 12th house, transiting Mars in the 12th house, the same as his natal Mars. It's the ending of something, the ending.
Now keep in mind, and you can't look at the chart. I'm really sorry that this is like, let me see. Can I change? See, on my phone, it's showing the right way. So I don't know why it's showing you all not this way. I'm sorry that it's doing that. But if you tilt your head and look at it, that's another thing. It depends on which house system people are using. Yeah. Not just Hunter. I mean, there's just abuse. It's rampant. It doesn't matter which party. It's rampant abuse in positions of power. Like, to think that like women don't abuse or there's not abusive patterns in women is just ignorant and naive. Anyway, So that's another thing. Like, I'm going to be interpreting this based on a whole sign house system. She's clearly using something like Placidus. So that's another thing. Like, how can, that's a difficult situation in astrology, because she's thinking all his Leo is in the 12th. I'm thinking it's all in the first, right? So that's, obviously a consideration as well. And why does she use Placidus house system? What's her argument? Why is she using this house system? Because it's the go-to on astro.com, a generic website for astrology enthusiast, which is what she's using here, which will just initially go to placidus.com. Or does she have a reason she uses Placidus? Has she researched it? Like, why is she deciding to go with Placidus? I'm not saying it's bad or good or bad. What I'm saying is, if you're going to use a house system, you bloody well need a good reason for why you're using that house system. You need to have researched it. You need to know why you're using it, or you're just using the generic house system that astro.com has which has been a completely politicized reason in the field of astrology why Placidus is the baseline house system at astro.com.
A cycle close to his IC. We see his IC is the bottom of the chart. It's his early life.
Okay, so let's just skip ahead.
A cycle.
Here we go.
It is opposing Pluto in Capricorn, the end of a cycle for Trump. All right. That's what I've got for you. My divination, my best clairvoyance, my best divination given to you says Harris will be president in 2025. There's good reason to hope. They say it's a close election. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay, so her clairvoyance and divination has told her Harris will win, and she hopes that's true. So no one's going to take you seriously. You've lost the respect of anybody with any kind of logic or common sense. Now, people obviously follow things like this on the internet because a lot of people who follow astrology and the world of divination and whatnot, and I'm sorry to say this, have mental illness. And I'm sorry to say that, but there's a sickness in the field of astrology. There really is. I've seen it. I've been doing this for 15 years. There's a lot of desperate people looking for who are desperate for answers. Do I think clairvoyance is not a legitimate thing? No. However, when you study the science of clairvoyance, clairvoyance is all about mirror neurons. Okay. So I'm a big neuron person. I look into neurology. So clairvoyance, really, I mean, I think there's a lot of amazing parts about it, don't get me wrong, but in general, because I've done my research, it's a mirror neuron thing. So when you walk into a room with someone, so like, for example, I was at this workshop this weekend. I knew who was going to talk next. Okay. So I was like just playing around with it. I was like, I bet you that person's going to talk next. And a couple times I'm like, I bet Tark is going to talk next, type of thing. And I was right. I don't know, like 80% of the time. And why is that? Is it because I'm clairvoyant? Yes, that might be part of it. But, or is it mirror neurons? Was I connecting my neurons to all the other neurons in the room, which we now know is what this is? And was I noticing when someone's neurons were like, I'm going to get on stage, I want to get on stage, I want to get on stage. And I could just pick up on that because of mirror neurons. So again, if I'm surrounded with people who all think that Trump is the devil and that, Kamala is the savior, whatever they're thinking, my mirror neurons are going to link on to those mirror neurons. And we're going to create a circuit between each other that says that's what's true. Right. So for her to say, like, let's have hope and faith that Kamala wins is not a good argument for your prediction. In fact, it's not an argument for a prediction. It is a biased opinion and a hope. It's not an educated opinion.
It's the right thing to do to have faith. You know what's coming, and it's the right thing to do to have faith and hope. And I've given you my analysis and my divination. Let's see if I'm right or wrong. It's over to you now, the voter, and it's over to you to use your own intuition to decide whether you should have faith and hope in the future.
Now, that I agree with. Having faith and hope in the future is a fine thing to be. This chick is hilarious. I was laugh out loud like watching this. So in one of her videos, she literally like has cats all around her and the whole thing. So, okay, she's called Ask the Spirit Guides. Who do you think she thinks is going to win? Okay. Anyone? What do we think? Ask the spirit guides with a big thing on her t-shirt that says vote is gonna win.
Do that at some point. We should do a
Harris,
clearing
that's funny. With a laugh.
for that for folks. We'll
Well,
do that.
yeah.
Will Trump's secret plan with Mike Johnson 70 electoral votes in the 2024 presidential election?
And this is why no one takes this stuff seriously. Okay. She's clearly, you know, just look at her. Okay. And she's holding things in her hands that can move with her hands and her energy. You know, that's like pendulums and stuff, right? So this is a similar thing where her mind and what she wants is moving into her hands. Okay.
Again, pretty wide swing compared to yesterday. Sorry, itch. Will Harris win more than 270 electoral votes in the 2024 presidential election? The answer is yes. Will Trump win the popular vote in the 2024 presidential election? The answer is no. Will Trump win 270 electoral votes in the 2024 presidential election? The answer is no. Will Trump win more than, well, obviously he's not getting 270, so I don't need to ask them more then. Okay.
Okay. So this is clearly a liberal woman. No offense to liberals. I don't see a lot of conservatives wearing like shirts that say vote. You know, the way she looks, like she's got the cats, ask the spirit guides, right? This is a very typical liberal person. So her little sticks are telling her that Kamala is going to win. Okay. 37,000 people watched that. What? Oh God, I gotta get on YouTube. So now I want to show you one other quick video to kind of talk about this electoral college thing quickly, but just to say this. So before I get into that, and then I'm gonna get into my own assessment of things. But you know, what is clear here is that astrologers don't know. Okay. So they don't. And that then bleeds into the idea of then just astrology as a profession. And that's why it's so important that as we trust astrologers or learn to trust astrologers or whatever, that we're being really critical, and that includes me. So like anything I say, you have to be critical of it, because I am coming from a perspective and I am coming from, you know, a background and all of that, like everybody else. But what this shows us is that astrology is biased. Okay. It's biased amongst all those factors, your background, your gender, your where you live, all of those different things. Okay. So that's the main point I want to make. No astrologer knows who's going to win. They just don't. They have someone they hope will win, and they're going to sway their argument to that. And that's the same when they read your charts. Now, not that I'm trying to promote myself or whatever, but my rising sign method is not based on any of that. It's based on facts. I've done research, in-depth research and data analysis on astrology, and it reads like a scientific calculation. It reads like a calculator, does the rising sign method, like 1 + 1 = 2. So I do think there's aspects of astrology that are really clear cut, based on the neurology piece of it, which I'm really feeling very inspired to get on with explaining that better to everybody. But that's very science-based. So I think that you can approach this in a much more scientific way. It's why I'm not really part of the field of astrology, because it's kind of this energy. So that's the first point I want to make before I get into my assessment of all of this. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I've been watching TV today because I got home from this long weekend, and so I just wanted to put on TV. And so I put on the election stuff. And my favorite thing during election season is to go between Fox and CNN. I just love it because it's like you're watching the exact same script, but so like, for example, the left was talking about how Trump was just like, bad mouthing and putting down all of the liberals and his final whatever yesterday. And they're like, he said this about them, he said this about them. And then you go over to Fox News and they say the same thing. So Kamala put down, these people and so it's like the exact same script, but from different characters' perspectives. It's almost laugh out loud funny how ridiculous this stuff is at this point. There's no different narrative. It's the exact same narrative on each channel. I don't think people can typically tolerate going from channel to channel, like from Fox to CNN or MSNBC, because they're so like attached to one perspective over the other. But I like to see both of them. Okay, so this is where I'm going to start my assessment of who I think is going to win. All right, so I shared this in the school community, so you can watch this as well. But this was last night. So this was yesterday. So this was Oprah at the Kamala rally. Okay, and this is what Oprah said. And then the second clip is last night or yesterday, Elon Musk at Joe Rogan. So like the Trump rally. Okay.
It is entirely possible that we will not have the opportunity to ever cast a ballot again.
What? What? Imagine you're at this thing and you've just heard that. Let's hear that one more time for the cheap seats in the back.
It is entirely possible that we will not have the opportunity to ever cast a ballot again. And let me be very clear.
Okay, so that's intense. So let's watch this one now.
If the Dems win this election, they will legalize enough illegals to turn the swing states, and everywhere will be like California. There will be no escape.
That is so insane.
This is the final. This is it. This is the last chance.
Has anybody tried
and
to
I
push
just want to
back?
Go out and vote. Vote like your life depends on it. Vote like your future depends on it, because it does. This is the last chance, man.
Okay, so like goosebumps, right? Like, so basically, again, both parties are saying this. This is what's so crazy about American politics. And y'all, I'm sure there's some crazy stuff going on in all the politics. The fall of Pluto Capricorn. I mean, it's so poetic for the astrology. It's absolutely bonkers. So the same way that both parties are saying that this person is talking trash and this person, it's the exact same script, just from one character's, pro-Trump or pro-Kamala, okay, pro-Republican, whatever, same script. Okay, so, but the problem is these guys don't tend to watch each other's news stations, so they buy it, okay? Now, are they both bad mouthing and bad? Yes, they are both doing that. So don't think that one side is doing that and the other isn't, right? But now we also have these two extremely influential people at the eve of this election, Elon Musk and Oprah Winfrey, saying effectively the same thing, that if your party doesn't win in this election, that is it for America as we know it. That's exactly what the astrology says, by the way. Okay. It doesn't, and I've been saying this from day one, you can have your bias and vote for who you need to vote for. Like, I absolutely support that, and your right to vote and all that. Great. And whoever wins is going to destroy America as we know it. It doesn't matter which one it is from that perspective based on the astrology. Okay. There's 1,000 reasons why. If you've been following my work, I've given you those explanations over the last many, 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 many years. I have, catalogs of information. I have been saying that. So that's something just to keep in mind, that it's both. Okay. Both are going to destroy America. Now, how they destroy America will look different. And that's why I can feel into who I think is going to win based on how America is to be destroyed, how the old consciousness is to be destroyed, and what that's going to look like. Okay. I missed you in your beautiful mind. I'm glad you're back. Honestly, I've been intuiting this, that this is the last election. Like, we all know it, just a feeling. Yeah. Because Trump wants to take away voting rights. He thinks it's rigged and faked. Hold on one second. Because Trump wants to take away voting rights. How does he want to take away voting rights? Can you explain that? He thinks it's rigged and faked. I don't understand that comment. You're going to have to clarify that. Something I keep having to remind myself is destroy as we know it doesn't necessarily have to be bad or scary thing. Transformation is scary, but nice. Yes, exactly. It doesn't matter if you want this to happen or not. This is just the nature of what's about to happen in the astrology. So there's 1,000 reasons why we know we're moving into a new consciousness. Again, I've been talking about this for years. We're going to get into the astrology of it. Okay. Okay. So that's the first point I want to share. Okay. That they're saying the same thing. Now, he says that in case he loses, that was his reason last time. But how does he want to take away voting rights? You have to clarify that. You have to give me some evidence of that because I'm not sure what that means or when he has said that. Okay, so let's see. Okay, let me just pause this for a second. Okay, so now let's just look at some numbers based on just who follows who on social media. Okay, so on Instagram, which I think is a very split usership. Instagram has Donald Trump has 27 million followers on Instagram and Kamala has 19. So based on that alone, what does that tell you who's gonna win? Based on just how many people follow them on social media accounts, who's the popular vote based on gotta go face muggles. Yeah. The muggles. It's funny. So that's just, again, taking it completely out of astrology. Let's just look at this piece of it. So on Instagram, he's got, almost 10 million more followers than her. Okay. So that's something to take into consideration. And then, oh wait, hold on. And by the way, I know that many of you might be adverse to Joe Rogan and all those things. I'm personally also not a big fan of Joe Rogan. I think he's a big sellout, but I sure do appreciate the conversations I've been able to watch this week. Somebody wrote in one of the comments, like, I've watched more Joe Rogan this week than ever. And I'm like, totally. I really appreciated watching I didn't watch the whole JD Vance thing on Rogan. I watched part of it, but I did watch the whole Trump one and the whole Elon one. And whether you are into these guys or not, they're worth watching. The first half hour with the Elon one is really boring, but it gets juicy and interesting. Okay, so now Twitter. Now, I think Twitter is probably a more conservative platform or something or whatever because it's run by Elon or X. So I don't know if this is valid, but again, we've got 21 million followers and Trump has 92 million. Okay, so now this tells you that the younger population that uses social media clearly favors Trump. Okay, that's just a hard fact. So based on that. Now, again, this is Twitter, and I don't know what it is on Facebook. In fact, I should probably look it up to not be biased. Let me just do that. Let me just see. I don't want to. I just don't want to talk. I don't want Facebook to know I exist. Okay, so she's got, let me just share this, 5 million followers on Facebook. That's not very good, is it? All right, and then let's see what Trump is. And he's got 35 million. So I don't know. The people have spoken based on this. Okay. So now who uses, I don't even know who even uses Facebook at this point. I don't know. But I think boomers, I think this is their chosen platform. So Facebook, Instagram, and X are wildly more popular towards Trump. So again, I'm coming out of the astrology of it and just looking at our reality that these are two parties spouting the same narrative from a different perspective, different perspective. And that the fact is that Trump way outranks the support on social media platforms than Harris. Because again, don't forget, was the most unliked vice vice president in history. That's what the polls told us before she became elected to run for president, or got selected to run, completely selected, because she lost in the primaries to run for president. So she was completely selected, literally not elected at all. Okay. So a woman who was not elected to be president, not elected to be vice president, she was selected to be a vice president by the president who got elected. And then she was selected to take his place when he dropped out. Not elected, selected. The numbers based on just social media show us that regardless of who wins here, he's clearly more favored. Okay. From this perspective, he just has more followers. Okay. So this is coming out of astrology, coming out of all of these things. This is just what the numbers show us here. Now, are people like, I don't follow either of these candidates on any social media. So there's a number of us who don't follow it. So it's not a fully accurate account of who's going to win here, but it's something that we have to take into consideration. I'm going to tell you who I believe is going to win, but also the purpose of today is how we look at this is I'm trying to teach us all to remain critical in our thinking in all of this. So you've watched me talk about this, Pluto into Aquarius. I've got the presentations in the classroom. If you haven't, go watch them. Go watch my playbacks, listen to my podcast. There's a YouTube up about it. I've been talking about this for years and years and years and years. I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been waiting for Pluto into Aquarius for 15 years. What we know about astrology. But again, before we get into the astrology of it, what is Pluto into Aquarius? Anyone? Classroom? What is Aquarius? Give me some buzzwords. Just throw some words out if you're willing. I know a lot of you are like cooking dinner and on a treadmill, which I should really consider doing. Fixed air sign. Yep. What does it represent? What does Aquarius represent? What is the energy of Aquarius? Like, what is it? What's the energy of it? And while you're answering that, I'm going to pull up a chart so I can explain it to you. Okay. Here we go. A technology, electric, community-minded technology, mad scientist, rebellion, detachment, collective, detached, expansion into community, consciousness expanding. Yeah. Okay, great. Those are great words. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to share this little chart with you really quickly. So let's just go ahead and look at this astrological wheel of life. So we're going to just start with this. So we just need to know what is Aquarius. Okay, what is Aquarius? And then we're going to talk a little bit about Capricorn as well and the energy we're leaving. But let's talk about Capricorn first, because Pluto's been in Capricorn since Obama got elected. So the politician who ushered in Pluto into Capricorn was Barack Obama. Okay. So in 2008 and 2009, that's when Pluto shifted from Sagittarius into Capricorn. So while Pluto was in Sagittarius, we had the Bush era. Okay. So we had Clinton, the Bushes. So we had that little group of presidents. I'm just talking about America right now. Obviously, it's not the whole world. Okay. But Obama came in with Pluto into Capricorn, and Obama has been in ever since, except for a short time period in the middle where it was Trump, because Obama had 2 administrations and then Biden was his third. Obama is still on the campaign trail for Kamala. So from that perspective alone, would the person who is being endorsed by Obama and is really part of his administration, would that represent a new energy? Is my question to you, classroom. Would the candidate that is aligned to the candidate who was the Pluto Capricorn energy make sense to go into a whole new energy? No. Okay. That doesn't make any logical sense. So if we're leaving one era and heading into a new one, why would the energy from the old era be represented? But they're both Saturn ruled. Absolutely. Good point. Yes. And that was brought up earlier. They are both Saturn ruled. So let's talk about that. Great point. Thank you for bringing that up. So we've established, though, that the old energy can't look like the new energy. Okay. Now, what's Capricorn? Let's talk about this. So this is my little wheel of life diagram. I use it all the time. And Capricorn is this. It's when we reach to the top. Okay. So Capricorn is we're born and we're growing and we're growing and we're growing and we grow. And here's where we get to Capricorn. This is when we hit the peak. Okay. So this is really, I like to call this the like 50s to 60s. Well, with the boomers, it's later, but it's that time in life where you're like, okay, I did my career, I created my family, I created the thing, I built my building, and it was created and it was done. Okay, so I'm ready to retire. Okay, so this is the final end of the career. And so Pluto Capricorn is that. It's the peak of industry, it's the peak of the building, it's the peak of form. It's the peak of form as we know it. It's very consistent and predictable. It's the patriarchy. Literally, that's the term we would use to describe Capricorn, paternity, the father. Okay. And what happens in that representation of that, it was Obama. Okay. So Obama was the man who would be the representation of the end of that consciousness, or therefore, the transformation of that consciousness. So as soon as Obama got in, that's when we started to see over the last 15 whatever years it's been, 16 years. That's when we started to see the Me Too movement. We started to see the patriarchy. So F the patriarchy, right? Taylor Swift is known for that. It's a big part of her concerts, apparently. I only know that because I went to see the movie and someone gave me a bracelet and it said F the patriarchy. And I was like, what's this? And she's like, we all wear them. Taylor's concerts. Okay, so that was all that movement. So like the come down of the patriarchy. I was really into that for a while until I figured out like how crazy that kind of concept was on lots of levels. Luckily I was kind of like saved from that consciousness because I don't think it's good to want to F anybody because that doesn't work well. Honor the patriarchy and honor the matriarchy. That's an interesting way to look at it. But anyway, so that's been the narrative though. So ever since he's been in office, and he kind of did F the patriarchy from the perspective that he was so different, right? He's the first not white president. He's cool. He's hip. He's got Jay-Z and Beyonce at his rallies. He's a celebrity. He's like a cool guy that like everyone loves, especially at the beginning of his thing. He won by a landslide when he won because we were coming out of the George W. era, which was very difficult. Very, very low energy at that time. And that was because we were leaving that consciousness. So we were leaving the Bush era, so to speak, right? And so as we are going from that transition of Sagittarius into Capricorn, it was a very depressing time like it is now. It was very like morose and like we needed hope. And that's what Obama represented. And they've been trying to promote Kamala under a similar thing, but that's very difficult to do because she's coming from the administration that has put us all in this. The last 4 years have been depressing for people. The economy is crap. We're in tons of different wars, all those things. So it's harder to say she's hope because she's coming from the old system. She's not a new, fresh face. Unlike, well, and Trump, to be honest, is kind of an old face in that sense, but he's much more of a new, fresh face. But let's again look at the vice presidents. Who's the fresher face here? An old white guy and Kamala, or Trump, a not politician, businessman, and JD Vance, a young man in his 40s. Okay. So and we want to look at his charts. The most important is JD Vance's. Okay. So this is what we have to think about. Now we go into Aquarius, and what is the whole point of Aquarius? Well, the whole point of Aquarius is to break down all of this and destroy it. Break down all of this and destroy it. So while they are both Saturnian ruled, their Saturnian purpose is entirely different. So the Saturnian purpose of Capricorn is to build. And I'm going to just get rid of all this. Okay, so I want to focus here on Aquarius. So Aquarius, again, is the retired person. So the Saturnian version of Capricorn is like, I work hard, I build, I create, I build, I build. So Pluto goes in there and starts to destroy all that, right? So defund the police is such a Pluto Capricorn movement. F the patriarchy is such a Pluto Capricorn movement. Not white, stagnant old man as president is such, we start to see that across the boards internationally, right? We start to see lots of not white men moving into positions of power, women, people of color, yada, yada. Pluto Capricorn. Okay. But Saturn is more, when it comes to Aquarius, is more the destruction energy of Saturn, right? So because Aquarius is more of a destructive energy, it breaks down everything. It's think about retired. So you've built your business, you've had your family, you've done your thing, and now you want to retire. So what do you do when you retire? Well, you get rid of things. Okay, you get rid of things. That's what you do. You let go of the weight. You downsize, right? You start getting rid of things. You move out of your big house that you spent your whole life building and creating so you can downsize into a more manageable place. You don't want steps. You want it to be easy as you get into retirement. You might travel. You might go and see a bunch of different things. You might start, coming out of your box, your square world where you went 9 to 5, and you might be like, I'm going to travel and I'm going to go see that. I'm going to cut my hair off and dye it purple. Aquarius. It's about freedom. It's about freedom from the system. It's freedom from the freedom from the patriarchy, so to speak, freedom from the job, freedom from the 9 to 5, freedom from the stagnant, freedom from the old white man, so to speak. Right. And so that version of Saturn is still, it's extremely mature. It's the most mature Saturn can be, but it's also destructive in its nature. But we want to just pay attention to Aquarius primarily and what Aquarius means. And the other thing about Aquarius is that this is the stage in life you sit back and you observe. You're not in there getting dirty. You're back here watching and observing. It's a much more observational energy. I am an Aquarius, so I know Aquarius very, very well. And yes, so things like technology, community, all those things are part of that characteristic, because when you are retired, that's what you have time for. You have time for community. When you're working and raising kids and stuff, it's much more difficult. You're just like getting by and surviving and building up your life and hopefully protecting and providing for people. But Aquarius, it's like, I'm going to go hang out with my friends again, the Zoomers, right? So like one of the things that happened in the pandemic, all the boomers started using Zoom for the first time. And they all started talking to each other on Zoom. So Aquarius, like that was Saturn into Aquarius. That was the Saturn Jupiter into Aquarius. It was like even the boomers started using technology to connect with each other. And they did so because we had this whole virus going on. And so they're connecting with each other through something that was a screen. It was technology, right? Technology is how they started to connect. It was all about that. So building community. I mean, I have a whole community here of people, of you, and of all of the people who are here who will watch this. I bet you there's only like, I don't know, 10 of you I've ever met in real life, right? I might get 300 people to watch this maybe. So like maybe, I don't like, you know what I'm saying? Like a very, very small percentage of you I will have ever met in person. But yet I have this huge community of you all, not huge, but I have a community of all of you who I connect with and I have a relationship with and I talk to, but I've never touched you in real life. That is Aquarius, right? So it's air. I can pick up this laptop and I can go anywhere and work, because if you have a laptop, and you work online, you can live anywhere, right? It's flexibility, it's freedom. It's, getting rid of everything you own and moving into an RV, and, retired people do that all the time. So that's what Aquarius is ultimately about. So which candidate is integrating this information more into their platform? Okay. So if you haven't watched the Joe Rogans yet, I encourage you to, especially if you don't like Trump. Okay. And especially if you don't like Rogan or Elon. And again, I'm not here to state an opinion about whether I like them or not. I think regardless, I think everyone's got, good bits and bad bits, right? So but it's very interesting to watch. And I just want to bring up this part of the Elon conversation. Actually, I'm going to do this through my laptop, because tell me if you think that this is, tell me if you think this makes sense. Okay. So first off, the fact that there is a person who is strongly endorsing Trump who is basically the head of all technology in the world, the most successful technological entrepreneur in the world, is endorsing Trump. And not only is he endorsing Trump, but they're suggesting that he will hold a cabinet in the Trump administration. He's been on this for 24 hours and he's had 10 million views. Okay. This interview has had 10 million views. Okay. I was actually thinking about this the other day too, because we were staying in a hotel where we went this weekend. And you know how like the ratings of news stations and stuff, whatever, like none of them hold a candle to podcasts, because again, podcasts, right? That's technology. It's not old media. It's not television media. Like no one cares. Everyone's over it. That is the old regime, is mainstream media. It's the old regime. Just it's over. Okay. One of the things I was thinking about today actually or on this trip we were just on, they look at ratings, but think about it this way. When you go into a hotel in America and every station has news running on it, they must account for that in their ratings. So we were in a hotel and there was 6 televisions that I counted. I'm sure there was more, just running mainstream media. So no one was watching any of it, by the way. No one was watching except for me. Everyone was just like on their phones doing things, because guess what? That's the age of technology that we're moving into. It's technology. People are not watching the television anymore, right? And if they are, they're watching podcasts, new media. So Joe Rogan is, the biggest podcast in all of the world. And the ratings said, Trump, Vance, and whatever, So that's part of it. This is the biggest leader in technology is endorsing Trump. It says Occupy Mars on his shirt. Aquarius is about space. It's about space travel. It's about cold. It's about leaving the confines of the old world and freeing ourselves up. Less air, or more air, less heavy, more air, less attachment to this earth, more flexibility, freedom, movement. This is who's endorsing Trump. So again, I don't have to be looking at anybody's charts to look at this and say, this makes more sense for Pluto into Aquarius. It just does. Now he starts talking about what he's going to do in the administration.
So
The
people
other
go in
thing
that.
about this is that I believe, and this is my prediction, that I don't think government will go beyond now. So will this be the last vote? It will certainly be the last vote in this way, because I believe that who's going to take over the world are the technocrats. It's going to be the people who own technology, because they have more money than government. They make more money, they have more money, therefore they have more resources than anybody in government. So they have the power now. Elon Musk has the power now. He owns X. Okay, so I just want to share this part of it, because okay, we want a light air technology movement. Okay. Technology, age of technology. And this is not just Pluto into Aquarius. This is like the age of Aquarius we're moving into as well. Okay. So this is what happens if he now takes office in government. So this is really, in a way, an election for him to get into office. JD Vance also was promoted by the PayPal mafia, so to speak. So Elon, and then the guy who started PayPal, that's who kind of has backed JD Vance. So he's kind of the puppet of technocrats, of the big tech people. Okay, is JD Vance. I'm not seeing anybody in the Kamala party being backed by big technology at all. Are you guys seeing technology as part of her campaign, or any people who are having strong influence on technology supporting her? I'm seeing like Beyonce and Oprah and like a bunch of really corrupt, disgusting celebrities that everybody basically loathes at this point, who nobody wants anything to do with, supporting her. It's a bad move. It's been a bad move on her part, because most of these people are now involved in these indictments for child trafficking and SA. Okay. So assault of people. It's coming out. It's all over. Celebrities who are on the Epstein and Diddy list. Yeah, those are the people who are coming out for Kamala. Like, it's just not a good move. That's the old paradigm. They represent it. The rise of the Beyoncés and the Jay-Z's and all of that, that's we have technology now. If you just have to go on here and look it up, it's not difficult to find out how corrupt these people are. But if you're not aware of technology, you're not aware of what's going on. And the age of technology is what wins now. So if you're not paying attention to what's happening in the world of technology, you don't understand where we are in the world at this stage, is kind of what this means. So technology is transparency. It's all coming out. It's all coming out about all of them. Okay. The whole swath of these individuals. Okay. And so bringing like Oprah and Lady Gaga and like, you know, Elon Musk, technology makes more sense for Aquarius. That's all I'm saying. It just makes more sense for Aquarius. Taylor Swift, did she? Oh yeah, Taylor Swift, right. So those are all people from the patriarchy system. So how did you get famous in Hollywood? Well, you went to a group of very powerful white men like Clive Davis and Harvey Weinstein and all of it. Trump is also a felon. Yeah. Yes. He's also, I totally agree. This isn't about Trump. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. None of this is about Trump. It's about this guy and JD Vance, but it's mostly about this guy. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at here. Yes, Trump was also friends with Epstein. Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, Pluto Aquarius. It's not about Trump. It's not about Kamala. Keep in mind, I've been saying that from the beginning. This is two campaigns that are yelling the same rhetoric from two different voices, right? This guy is backing Trump though. So where's the money, right? Where are we going? Where's the money? That's what I'm looking at. So you're not seeing, so if you think about Hollywood and the people who are supporting Kamala, they come from the machine, they come from the patriarchy, right? So it's very clear now, the rap industry, for example, and this has been known by most people for a long time, but the popular rap industry, so not like this, like the authentic street hip hop. I'm talking about like the Diddy's and the Busta Rhymes and the all of those people. Okay. So the Eminem's, the Dr. Dre's, all of those people, right? So the very, very popular rap hip hop artists. It's, all traced back to very powerful white rich men. Okay. So that is the patriarchy. And so and you can go and you can look up what happened with NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, right? Those were all ruled or put together by a wealthy white rich man. In fact, those bands were strictly created for stock, for the exchange, and anyway, go look it up. It's all out there. His name was whatchamacallit, and he laundered all this money and he wound up in jail. So Clive Davis and all these, and just look at the people behind media. Well, it is the patriarch. And so the people who are going on stage promoting Kamala are directly coming from that paradigm. Those people are not going on stage for Trump. This guy is, right? Primarily this guy who's going on stage for him. And his shirt says Occupy Mars. Okay, so this is what he'll do if he gets into office, because they're saying that he will take a cabinet seat in the government. I don't even know if that's I guess it's allowed. I think you have to be born in America to be president, but I don't think any other position you need to be born American.
It's just this whole idea of this government efficiency agency.
The government, yeah. I mean, quote whatever you want. But
what do you want?
So he would call it the Government Efficiency Agency. Okay, this is what he wants to do. Okay. The man who is the most wealthiest. In fact, who is the wealthiest man in the world? Let's find out who the wealthiest man in the world is right now. Elon Musk, number one. Jeff Bezos, number two. Okay. So the wealthiest man on the earth is this man. Okay. And he wants to go into the American political system and create an office called the Government Efficiency Agency. Now, I just watched this other podcast yesterday about the guy who wrote the biography on Elon Musk. It's there's an interview out there, and I just watched it last night after this. And he was saying when he bought Twitter, basically, and because I don't follow a lot of this, but when he bought Twitter, he basically went in and the guy, I'll show you the clip of what I want to show you. In fact, I'll try to find that while you guys are listening to this.
want to call it? What do you call it?
I mean, I think the funniest name is DOGE, the Doge, the Department of Government.
Which after this interview, that coin just like went through their cryptocurrency, y'all. You think we're gonna have old currency with Pluto into Aquarius? No, we're having cryptocurrency. And I'm sorry to say it, but the Democrats are against that. They are not. Okay. We will not be run by a government. We will be run by technology, by the ruler. That is Pluto into Aquarius, right? There will be cryptocurrency. Like, I've been doing this for so long. I've been following cryptocurrency since 2016. I've watched Bitcoin go from nothing to what, $70,000. I've been watching this for a very, very, very long time. And you have to see who's pro crypto too, to see who we probably think is going to be in office. And Jeff Bezos' newspaper, Washington Post, did not endorse Kamala. Yeah. These are the guys who will run the world now. So yes, will this be the last election ever? Maybe. I don't think so. I fully think that's all just like clickbait stuff. I think it's unconstitutional, and I think that in order for a constitutional right like that to be taken, there will be civil war. I guess I just don't think I know enough people with enough guns. I just don't think that can happen. But he's very, very, very powerful, right? And what's so funny is everyone who drives his cars are liberals. He's just gonna like take their cars and like turn them on and like send them to wherever he wants. It's really funny how that all got twisted around. But anyway,
Department of Government Efficiency. Yeah, I mean the idea is pretty simple. Is that like we've got this suffocating massive federal bureaucracy, and we need to and the government spending is like bankrupting the country. Our interest payments on the national debt now exceed the Defense Department budget. So, which is the Defense Department budget is like $1 trillion a year. Interest payments on the national debt are now higher than the Defense Department budget, and growing like every month. So it's like it's not like basically we're on a path to bankruptcy. America's on a path to bankruptcy. So we have to cut government spending. Or we're just going to go bankrupt, just like a person would if that overspends. But it's even worse than that. Like we're spending money on all these government agencies, and I actually asked the AI like how many government agencies are there, and the government isn't even sure how many government agencies there are. Like so it's like somewhere around 450, depending on what you call an agency. So they're at the federal level. So that's almost twice as many agencies as years that America has existed. So we're creating agencies at roughly 2 agencies a year.
Wow.
Yes. So this is insane. I bet there's like, I wonder if there's even one person who could even name all the 450 agencies at the federal level. There might be no one. But it's hardly anyone, let's just say. I bet most people couldn't even name 100, so...
So basically what this guy is saying, he's going to come in and get rid of the government. It would help if they tax the rich. Well, yes. And the problem with taxing the rich is that the rich are always going to go to places where they can get best tax advantages. So the problem with that idea is that the wealthiest companies will leave America. So something just to consider. Just a fact, right? So I'm not promoting or saying one. So when you tax the super wealthy, the big companies who employ, hundreds of thousands of people, right? Because that's who we're thinking about the rich. Like the rich is not just someone making like $200,000. The rich is people making like billions of dollars, right? So what happens with these people, these businesses that make those billions of dollars? Well, they leave America to tax incentivizing countries, which are these BRIC nations. So that's what's starting to happen is companies are leaving America to go to these BRIC nations. So part of the reason Elon Musk came out of California and he moved his company Tesla and all those things, SpaceX, all that stuff to Texas is partly because of the tax incentives. So when you tax the rich, it's fine. Just know that the rich will go find somewhere else where they don't pay taxes and they'll bring all those jobs with them. So just something to consider when saying that, because it's a very like blanket term which I totally get that it makes sense that people who make more money should give more to the poor people and all of that. And when that happens, they will just go find places where there's better tax in it, like Saudi Arabia is doing it. Brazil, all these places are the BRICS nations. That's what they're doing to incentivize big companies out of America, which then takes those jobs with them. So just want to throw that out there.
This vast, suffocating federal bureaucracy that just gets bigger every year. And eventually you get to the point where everything is illegal. You can't get anything done. So
what can be done, like with, obviously the president has a lot of power, but how much power, and what can be done in terms of like eliminating agencies, eliminating waste, eliminating?
Yeah, well, I mean, so if Congress has created an agency, then often if you look at the law is like pretty simple. Like the agency has like a very simple task, but then that agency over time vastly increases its authority and starts doing things that were never authorized by Congress. That's happened with pretty much every agency. So yeah, you'd have to still, keep an agency. You'd have to match the law, but you can curtail the agencies to be much smaller and say you got to stick to what Congress authorized instead of all this other stuff you're doing.
So effectively, what this guy is saying is he wants to go down. Or sorry, he wants to go into the government and break it all down to be less heavy, less lighter, right? Because it can be more efficient. He's obviously a very, very successful businessman, right? So and so is Trump, right? So they want to go into the American government and they want to make it a successful business, right? That's their whole thing, which is breaking down what government is, which is like bureaucracy and, just people who show up at a job and do what they're told and like government waste spending. He's saying he wants to change that. To me, that's more Pluto into Aquarius. It says, Rebecca wrote, Elon paid 11 billion in taxes in 2021. Right. So wealthy people do pay taxes, but they also they give jobs, right? So they also do give to the government in those ways as well. So it's both and, right? In an ideal world, everyone would be equal. That's called communism and socialism. And unfortunately, humans don't play like that. I mean, I think females, we think like that, right? Like, okay, well, our children need to be equal and everyone gets the same amount of food and like all of that. It's a very feminine approach to the world, which is great because that's how women work with kids and stuff. But in the end, when there's not the incentive to work hard and to like, if everyone's like equal, unfortunately, what happens is lots of people die. In fact, I'll do some data here on how many people die under the socialist or in communist regimes. Okay. Because that's what that can wind up looking like when everyone is equal. Just facts based on history. And it can kind of lead to victims. So I'm a victim, give me money, right? I've talked about this before. So he's, not kind of, yeah. So let me just up.
I mean, as for SpaceX, Starship was sitting on the pad, the rocket, this giant rocket. We could build the rocket faster than they could process the paperwork to approve the launch. So we're sitting there for 2 months.
But do you think that they're doing that on purpose to fuck with you?
Maybe a little, but I mean, that would also not be cool.
But just to give you the facts on this, academic sources such as the Black Book of Communism, so I don't know, says that in the 20th century, and I've heard up to 250. So again, I'd have to like double check these sources, but they're saying about 100 million people died in the 20th century under a communist and socialist regime. So just something to keep in mind. He's just going to get rid of jobs. He's just going to go in and he's just going to basically be like, you're out. Like if you don't, and his whole plan that he says in this, he says that he's going to give like 2 year, up to 2 years of, severance pay. So he's like, everyone will get their money. It'll be fine. In fact, they'll probably come out better, but we have to get rid of these jobs. We have to get rid of all of these agencies. We have to bring it down to zero. So I just want to then show you what he did when he bought Twitter. Okay. So I've just came across this last night as well.
So when he acquired Twitter, I, as a great fan of what Elon has achieved and the service that he's sort of served to humanity with some of these companies like Tesla and SpaceX, I was
Which,
really
by the way, like one of Elon's missions is to improve the environmental efficiency of in fact, I'll try to find that quote. So in a lot of ways, he's very liberal, right? This is what's so funny about, like, he's trying to improve the environment. He's trying to do all these things. So it's really interesting. So I think that is in here somewhere. So he actually, it's a lot of these values are actually liberal values.
really hoping he didn't buy the company because I thought it would just be a great distraction from
Bingo.
really important other things.
100%.
By the way, this was the guy who wrote the biography on Musk, and this was recorded over a year ago. And man, does this guy look kind of like an idiot now. but it's just because he's like, you know, he's going to completely crash Twitter. He's going to lose. It's just really funny. Like this guy clearly has like a liberal bias when he's talking about this. But I want you to listen to it and see how he went into Twitter and how he managed Twitter. Okay. Now this could be scary too, but just let's hear it out. This is how Elon will go into the US government.
That he's now become the richest person on earth. He's person of the year for Financial Times and Time. He's sent up 33 rockets that year that landed safely and were reused. And yet he says, okay, I'm buying Twitter. And his brother, his son Griffin, we're all like his friends, 3 or 4 friends. It's like, is this a good idea? Aren't you going to be distracted? And everybody is sort of trying to talk him out of it. I'm not, because I'm just taking notes. I'm just the observer. But I'm thinking, boy, this is a bad idea. Not simply because it'll be a distraction, but because you don't have, I'm thinking of Musk, he doesn't have human emotional awareness. And so I asked him, why are you doing it?
And what is Aquarius, ladies and gentlemen? It's not emotional awareness. I've been called a lot of things in my life, and not once has it been nurturing. Okay. I'm an Aquarius. That's not my nature. I'm not like this, like ooey gooey nurturing kind of a person. That's not the nature of Aquarius. I was born in the middle of winter when everything was dead. Right. So I'm more non-attached, right? I don't get attached. You know, I'm married to a not me, and he gets attached to everyone. I mean, he makes a friend and he's like, let's be friends for life. I'm like, not that. Like Aquarius is cold. It's not about hold me and touch me and make me feel better. It's about let's get this done. Like less is more. Less is more. That's Aquarius, right? It's cold, it's methodical, it's technological, it's space. Okay. I'm not saying I like this guy or don't. I'm just saying this to me sounds like Aquarius. He sounds like Aquarius to me. Okay.
He said, well, it's a product problem. They need better engineering. They haven't put any new features in. They don't have full motion video. So it's an engineering challenge. I'm thinking, no, Twitter's not an engineering product. You've been through all these before. It's an advertising medium. It's supposed to gather eyeballs for advertisers in a friendly environment. And that's not Elon's specialty. So I think it was then and is now both a distraction and does not play to his strengths.
Did you see it at any point, and do you believe it will hurt the trajectory of Tesla and SpaceX in any way, that acquisition?
I think that it probably hurts his reputation, especially among more progressive people. It obviously has hurt, which means it probably has hurt Tesla's sales. As for SpaceX, I don't think it matters too much. He has been able to be intensely focused, including, I mean, just today while we're taping this, I think he's doing the 40th launch this year of the Falcon 9, sending up 20 more Starlink satellites. He launched Starship and got it all the way into space with all 33 Raptor engines working. And he's down there intensely focused. So I think SpaceX is okay. I think Tesla will be okay, but it'd be better off if he weren't distracted by Twitter, and B, if his reputation hadn't become 10 times more controversial, which is not great if you're just trying to do a mass market car sales.
When he went into Twitter, one of the very alarming things that he did.
So this is the most important part of this conversation. In fact, this is the main thing I want you to take from this conversation.
There was rumors that he called everyone up to the top floor and said, "This is going to be the new company culture. If you don't like it, go."
Absolutely. I mean, I was there. I walked in with. I was there the day before he took over. He marches in, and I think there's a whole chapter in the book almost in the rapid change in corporate culture that happened. Something you're very familiar with from companies you've dealt with, which is two extremes of doing a company. One was the way Twitter was, which is nurturing and sweet and having yoga rooms and artisanal coffee bars. And when Musk walks in, they're
right. So Capricorn, right? So let daddy take care of me. I'll work here and daddy will take care of me. He'll give me the artisanal, right? Like, oh, I'm home now and daddy's going to take care of me. That's like the nature of the Google and Twitter in the Silicon Valley paradigm, right?
showing him how we have quiet spaces for people who need, to get their mental energy restored. And they said, we value psychological safety. And Musk looked at me and kind of did his raspy laugh. Says, psychological safety, blank, screw that. An urgent intensity is our operating principle. Psychological safety is our enemy. And so he turns it into a hardcore all-in environment where you have to say, I'm all in. You're going to work 24/7, some weekends, because you're all in. And he said, I want a team that's 20% of the size, but that's an order of magnitude more intense and more all in. And you've probably seen companies with your own eyes who are very nurturing, and you've seen companies in which everybody's doing a hardcore all-in hackathon on a Saturday night, and he's in the...
And guess which company has made him the richest, and guess which mode of operation has made him the richest man on earth? It's not been to nurture the people who work for him. That's not how he's gotten there. He's gotten there because he gets done. He gets stuff done. Oh, really, I miss cussing, you guys. Okay, here's a few comments. Trump has tasked him as Trump has tasked Elon with cutting $2 trillion in spending. It's funny, Elon is a Cancer. That's a sensitive water sign. So we'll look at Elon's chart, and I know I'm like 3 hours into this. It's kind of crazy, but we still need to look at their charts, and I'm willing to do that if you guys are willing to hang out a little bit longer. Excuse me. All of this is, by the way, not looking at anyone's astrology chart. This is just looking at the common sense of what's going on in the world, knowing Pluto is about to move into Aquarius. That's where my opinion is coming from. Okay. But Cancers are a-holes. And I don't know which astrologer and which astrology consciousness convinced us all that Cancers are soft and nurturing. That is not Cancer. They're crabs. And if you mess with them, they snap at you. They're not nice. That is not at all the description of Cancer. They are going to protect themselves at all costs. And if they don't, they're going to hurt you. Okay. I was raised by a Cancer. My dad is a Cancer. My brother is a Cancer. Are they sensitive? Yes, they are very sensitive. But because of that, they are very hard on the outside. You don't want to mess with a Cancer. They're brutal. All the water signs are. They're all like the whole like water signs are soft and sensitive. That might be true. But if you're soft and sensitive, you're going to protect yourself from feeling those things, right? So you're going to be defensive. Yes. Sensitive, but defensive. Exactly. That's a great way to describe water. Sensitive, but defensive. You don't mess with water people. My dad's a Cancer with a Scorpio moon. Don't mess with my dad. Like, well, he's got a nasty streak in him. He was called Lightning McNasty in the military. Okay. He's really loving and he cares for his family. But if you get on his bad side, You know, like I'm an Aquarius. You got my backside. I'll just like move on and never. I'll just like forget about it. I don't really care, like, because I don't have that level of sensitivity, right? So, hurt me, that's fine, and it you know, it gets to me. Don't get me wrong, but nothing like it gets to like my brother, who's a Cancer with a Pisces moon, or a sorry, South Node in Pisces and Scorpio rising. He gets way more upset about things than I do. You know, my brother, super watery. So, you know, and by the way, in this interview, he claims that Elon Musk is autistic or Asperger's-y. I guess they've gotten rid of Asperger's in the thing, but they're very different types of personalities. So he might have a level of Asperger's or something like that. I'm sure, because he's so smart and brilliant, he has to have something like that. So, you know, keep in mind he also does have that mental diagnosis apparently too. And yes, it's fun. Oh wow, I had not made the connection with Daddy Take Care of Me in the tech culture, as tech employees love the perks. Yeah, but they don't necessarily always get that much done. But yes, it's very much Pluto Capricorn. Elon states his motivation is that he loves humanity. Absolutely, because what these guys are saying here, because this is from years ago, Elon bought Twitter to help humanity. That was his, and he knew he was going to lose money on it. What did he spend on it? $4 trillion. How much did Elon buy Twitter for? So he knew he wasn't going to make money off of it. I don't know if he's making money. So billion dollars. So he bought it for $44 billion just because he wanted to try to save freedom of speech. That was why he did it. And he talks about it in that interview if you want to watch it. And you can decide if he's ingenuine or not. That's your decision, but that's what he says. Or just genuine or whatever. And then how has his X platform earned him money? I think because he's monetized it, he's probably doing fine. Because he's smart. He's a smart businessman. It says it has not yet turned a profit since 22, since he acquired it. So it hasn't. The acquisition left to significant restructuring, including layoffs. Yeah, so he basically got rid of everybody. So, and I'll just finish. I think that's it. Hold on.
The latter camp.
Do you believe? I often speak to large organizations that have cultural problems. They're not innovative. They're being eroded away by new market entrants, etc. And the problem they have is they can't turn the ship around quickly enough before the innovation takes them out. Big companies that have 50,000 people, big out. I've often wondered, because then I saw this Elon Musk approach to turning culture around, where you basically let off a grenade in the building.
Totally.
Do you believe there's merit in that approach?
Yes, but I also believe there's a big old downside. And like everything with Elon Musk, including the shooting off of the rockets, you get amazing things happen, but also rubble in the wake.
So basically, the reason I'm sharing that with you is because basically that's what, if he gets in, which I believe that's what's going to happen here. Because I believe that Pluto into Aquarius is much more aligned to technology taking over government than old government continuing old government. That's my argument. Okay, without looking at any other things in astrology. Pluto into Aquarius is new energy of technology. That going into taking over government makes more sense than old government taking old government over. Okay, so the Obama era of celebrity and, you know, all that stuff, right? I just don't see it. Like, this is Pluto and Aquarius on a silver platter. Now, those astrologers all made those predictions before this Elon thing happened and before this Joe Rogan stuff happened. So that's, you know, to be fair to them, they didn't know this was going to happen. But I know a lot of people don't like Elon. It's funny too, because the left used to love Elon Musk because he's so environmentally like progressive. Although I've been told that those Tesla cars and the batteries don't it's going to be an issue for landfills because there's an issue with all that too. So it's not that environmentally friendly, but he did the solar panels and all that. So the left loved him and now they hate him. It's it's like upside down world. um and like everyone loved Trump and they don't like him now. It's just a really funny thing. So not loved him, but like he wasn't disliked. He was just a main character in American culture. Anyway, he wasn't seen as the devil. That wasn't happening before he ran for president. Anyway, um so that's all it is. It's just that Pluto into Aquarius is technology will take over government. The way we vote will probably change. So, although it's funny because Elon said that the only way for a fair election is paper ballots where you go in and do paper, but I think it's blockchain, but I don't know. I could be wrong. Elon's obviously much smarter than me, but I would think through blockchain you could do, like, I could really see the future, and I could be wrong about this, but I hope the future is that you'll see a federal issue come up or some kind of governmental issue come up, and you'll have the opportunity to like just vote from here. You'll be able to, as the people, speak your voice like through here, through blockchain technology and whatnot, because it keeps your like sovereignty intact. It's less easy to manipulate as blockchain technology. I think if Trump gets in, we're going to be moving into CBDCs. So we're going to be moving into digital currencies. I think Trump's going to come in and he's going to do what he did to Twitter. And it might not turn a profit right away, but eventually it will, because he's the richest man on earth. So we know he knows what he's doing when it comes to business. And so does Trump from that perspective. So if you are really scared of Trump winning, just know that, they are businessmen. So that's something to be, see the positive in all of this. Right. I just can't see, from this, I just can't see how Kamala is going to win. And if she does win, maybe the next election, we're going to see a stronger push from the technocrats to get in or something. But I don't know. I just like kind of can't see it at this point. I just Pluto into Aquarius is all we need to think about. That's it. I don't need to know what's happening on Trump's chart. I don't need to know what's happening anywhere else. I just don't. I really don't. I'm looking at the big picture here. Okay. So the big picture. Pluto and Aquarius is Elon Musk. It's not Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. It's just like not. So okay. It sounds like Microsoft in the 90s, 70 hours per week for your whole career. I watch people burn out all the time. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be brutal. Like the government is going to completely get slashed. Like it's going to just like a bomb's going to go off. Like the American government will blow up, right? Like I've said this, whoever wins is going to destroy America as we know it. Okay. That's going to happen. How it gets destroyed, either it's through, and there's enough facts now to say like there has been a lot of illegal immigrants who've come into these swing states. That's a fact. It's a hard fact. In fact, I found out firsthand from a liberal person. So that's why I know this isn't like conservative media or whatever that is saying this, because I didn't know all this. Because again, I don't really pay attention to all this, but I had a very liberal, very gay friend tell me, who lived in Denver. This was before I ever heard it on the news. Or he's like, do you know that these Venezuelan gangs are literally taking over? Like it's everyone is having to deal with this. And so that's not a conservative, like that came directly from someone who's going to vote Kamala, right? So we've seen that. So either the government's going to change because there's going to be a change of those swing states into blue, which like Elon is saying, if that happens and all those swing states go blue, there will be no two-party system. There will be one, and that will be it. And I agree with that point. That's how Kamala will destroy America. How Elon will destroy America is by going into the government and just like blowing it up and turning it into, God willing, an efficient business. But that will change the jobs market. I mean, he's bringing robots, whether he gets into the government or not, it doesn't matter. He's the one going to space. America, the government is not going to space. NASA is not going to space. That's not who's going to space. It's him. It's him and his private company. Jeff Bezos is not going. It is Elon Musk and Elon Musk only who's going into outer space. He has more power than the government, regardless of if he actually is in the government or not. he'll destroy it. He'll take this, old system of the patriarchy and like, we're going to take care of all of you. And like, you just trust us. And, he's going to be like, no, I'm not doing that. That's not happening anymore. Like, this is a business and we need to make money and, toughen up, Aquarius. Like, I don't care. I don't care about your feelings. Right. Like, I'm sorry to say I'm an Aquarius, and that's been a complaint that people have had of me throughout my life. The reason I love my job is because I don't have to interact with people in the flesh all the time, right? I work on computers. It's easier for me. I'm an Aquarius, right? That's just the nature of Aquarius. It's just a lot colder because it's the middle of winter. There's nothing wrong with it. Thank you, Gene. I have to go. Yeah, it's crazy. You guys have stuck with me for 3 hours. It's like crazy. I love it. Thanks, everyone. And I'll quickly maybe try to pull up the charts, but I don't even know if I need to. Can you guys tell me, those of you who are still here? It's amazing you're still here. Do you want me to look at the charts still? I will absolutely do that. And RFK understands the medical industrial complex, which profits on our suffering with chronic illness. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting group of people who are endorsing Trump. It's definitely not the old system that's endorsing him. Yes, the age of Aquarius, Uranus, and Gemini. Yeah, and then Uranus goes into Gemini too, y'all. It's like I just don't see how there's any way out of this. Like, there will be no like government moving forward. It'll be a technological takeover. And again, like I was saying, so whether he gets into government or not, like his robots will be in your house within like 2 years. Just fact. He's going to be releasing. He's like, it's only gonna be like $20,000 or $30,000 to buy these robots. It's like super affordable to have a robot who can like do your dishes and your laundry, and it'll be your friend like these guys are. These, who, you would have never believed that we would have one of these. Never. How much of this has all been done because of research that I can look up, like that, this entire conversation is because of technology. This entire conversation we're having right now is because of technology. We would have never imagined we'd have these. It is not a stretch to think that we're all going to have robots soon in our houses. It's just not a stretch. And he talks about all of that. If you watch that full interview about what he thinks will happen in terms of that, it's a little bit dystopic. I'm not going to lie, but it's Aquarius. Like, will we be taken over by robots? Will robots be what's left here? And his whole thing is he wants to keep human consciousness alive. And that's why he wants to go to Mars, because he's worried that the Earth will blow up. Fair. And he wants to get us, make sure we have a second planet so human consciousness can, extend beyond now. It's really quite something. It's dystopic. I actually was very sad at the end of that interview. Like, I don't feel that way. Because that's like the heartless nature of it all, of technology. There's not a lot of heart in technology. So, you got this female candidate running, and it's more about that, right? And in a lot of ways, I wish that was, I just don't think that's what Aquarius is about. I just don't. So one way or the other, the old order is breaking down as Pluto enters Aquarius. Correct. Yes. We'll either with Kamala in, and he gives very, very clear arguments in that interview with Joe Biden that if Kamala gets in, it will, and she turns those swing states blue, like that's it. There will only be one party in America, because what we went through at the beginning of this, that the majority of people are, it won't account for the landmass of the rural community. And then if Elon gets in, he's just going to destroy the government and make it a business. Hopefully a very efficient one. Charts, yes, please. Charts, yes. Okay, great. Yes. Interesting conversation. The main thing I just want to throw out there to you all, because tomorrow or whenever the final thing is done, like the birds will still be chirping and people will still be driving to work, and you too will have the opportunity to make your life the best you can for you, no matter who's in charge. So there's nothing really to be afraid of. We're just living through an extreme time of change, and that's cool. It's cool to be alive for that. So, all right, enjoy your evenings. I'm going to go watch the election stuff because it's so interesting, and maybe I'll keep you posted along the way, but I'm so tired. This is definitely the longest life I've ever done. What are we at? Almost 4 hours. Okay. I'm going to go. Much love to all of you. Speak to you all soon. Okay. See you tomorrow. Bye.